Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes the deepest power you can wield is silence. When a man hurts you, your instinct may scream for confrontation, for tears, for explaining yourself, but that only feeds his perception that he controls your emotional state. Instead, take a step back, breathe, let the pain simmer in the quiet corners of your mind. When you choose silence, you create a vacuum that he cannot fill. This void unsettles him because he is used to seeing reactions, to controlling responses, to feeding off your vulnerability. Your calmness becomes a mirror that reflects back his actions, forcing him to reckon with his own misdeeds while you maintain sovereignty over your emotions. Anger is the easiest response, but it is predictable. If he hurts you and you respond with rage or sorrow, he gains clarity on your triggers, your weaknesses, and your patterns. But unpredictability, that is chaos to him. When you respond with calm, when you smile in moments where tears were expected, when you walk away without explanation, you rewrite the rules of engagement. Suddenly, he is forced to guess, to question, to analyze, and every assumption he had about you begins to crumble. The confusion you create becomes your shield and your weapon, subtle yet devastating in its effect. One of the most powerful tools you have is self-mastery. Instead of chasing him for apologies or explanations, redirect that energy inward. Work on your mind, your body, your vision, your goals. Elevate yourself while he lingers in the fog of his own actions. When he sees you thriving in spite of his attempt to hurt you, it unnerves him. This is not revenge, it is transformation. Every step you take to grow makes his attempts to destabilize you look futile. The more you glow independently, the less influence he has, and the more perplexed. He becomes about why his actions no longer produce the expected results. Move differently. Energy speaks louder than words. When he expects despair, show composure. When he expects tears, show serenity. When he expects conflict, show indifference. The unpredictability of your behavior sends a message he cannot decode. You are no longer his mirror, no longer predictable, no longer vulnerable to his manipulations. Confusion is not just a strategy, it is a reflection of your unshakable self-possession. Each moment he spends trying to understand you is time he cannot manipulate you, and every glance he casts is a reminder that he no longer controls your inner world. Detach emotionally without detaching from life. Hurts are designed to elicit reactions, but your reactions are yours to govern. By holding steady, by keeping your dignity intact, you communicate a subtle but profound truth. You are in charge of your feelings. He may wonder why you are unaffected, why your steps remain steady, why your presence feels untouchable. That wonder creates confusion, and confusion is a powerful deterrent. When a man realizes that his power over your emotions has diminished, he begins to question everything he assumed about you, and you are free to operate from strength rather than vulnerability. Play with unpredictability in your communication. Sometimes engage, sometimes retreat. Sometimes respond with warmth, sometimes with detachment. Let him never anticipate your next move. Predictability is a leash. Unpredictability is freedom. This is not about manipulation in the shallow sense. It is about reclaiming your autonomy. The uncertainty you cultivate forces him to confront the reality that he no longer has a map to navigate your responses. Each unexpected action or reaction chips away at the narrative he had constructed about you, leaving him disoriented and reconsidering his approach. Flip the power dynamic by refusing to react the way he expects. If he hurts you through words, silence is your fortress. If he tries to provoke anger, remain calm, composed, and deliberate. Every moment you refuse to grant him the satisfaction of a predictable reaction, you assert dominance over the interaction. This is not aggression, this is sovereignty. He is accustomed to control, to eliciting responses that serve his ego. And when you break that cycle, the imbalance unsettles him. The more detached yet powerful you appear, the more he struggles to decode your behavior, and the more he respects the invisible boundaries you have set. Transformation is your secret weapon. Focus on building yourself while he dwells on the chaos he caused. Engage in new skills, new habits, new visions for your life. Immerse yourself in experiences that elevate you. Each step towards self-mastery is a silent statement. The past cannot harm you unless you allow it. His confusion grows as he sees you emerging stronger, more radiant, more untouchable than before. While he expected brokenness, he finds brilliance. This transformation is your ultimate power because it thrives silently, invisibly, yet undeniably, leaving him to grapple with a reality he never anticipated. Never over-explain. Words are powerful, but excessive explanations dilute authority. When a man hurts you, he may crave clarity, justification, or remorse, but your silence communicates more. By withholding explanations, you invite him to wonder, to speculate, and to confront the void left by his actions. This absence of information destabilizes him. Humans fear the unknown, and when he cannot map your thoughts or anticipate your responses, he is left in mental limbo. Confusion, in this sense, is not cruelty. It is an assertion of your autonomy and your refusal to grant him unnecessary power over your inner world. Channel your energy into visible growth. Let him witness, from a distance, the woman who refuses to be diminished. Your career, your appearance, your social presence, your mindset all become living proof that his actions have failed to control or harm you. When he sees results rather than reactions, confusion is inevitable. He expects despair. He expects frustration. He expects distraction. But he finds focus, brilliance, and grace. This disparity between expectation and reality unsettles him at a psychological level, planting seeds of reflection he cannot ignore and demonstrating the silent force of your resilience. Psychological spacing is critical. Step back, create distance, and let the absence speak volumes. When a man is used to constant access to your emotions and attention, removing that access forces him to recalibrate. Absence magnifies reflection. It is not a retreat, it is strategy. Each moment he spends in anticipation, wondering if he will receive a reaction, builds a psychological landscape where he must confront his own actions. Confusion becomes the natural byproduct of distance because his expectations collide with reality, leaving him questioning what he thought he knew about you. Confidence is the silent disruptor. Walk, speak, and act with assuredness. Do not let his attempts to hurt you sway your posture, your tone, or your self-belief. The more unwavering your confidence, the more he is forced to question why his attempts no longer resonate. Every step you take, every smile you share, every achievement you showcase, reinforces a narrative he cannot control. Confusion thrives where certainty exists, and your certainty is a mirror reflecting the futility of his efforts. By embodying power rather than pain, you render his hurt ineffective. Reframe his actions internally. Do not dwell on the hurt as a defining narrative. Instead, see it as an opportunity to sharpen your boundaries, reinforce your autonomy, and cultivate personal strength. This mental reframing transforms perceived weakness into invincibility. When he observes that his attempts to provoke you have failed, confusion takes hold naturally. His energy spent on causing disruption now contrasts sharply with your energy spent on building resilience. This inversion of expectation, the shift from reactive victim to self-determined force, is profoundly disorienting to anyone who thought they held sway over you. Maintain your unpredictability and social presence. Let him encounter the woman who is joyful, unchained, and self-possessed. Social settings amplify perception, and when he sees you admired, respected, and thriving among others, he experiences a subtle cognitive dissonance. Confusion grows because reality contradicts the narrative he tried to impose. Each interaction, smile, and engagement without dependency on his validation is a silent statement. You exist outside of his influence. This freedom, This radiant unpredictability becomes the canvas upon which he must paint new assumptions about you, a task he never anticipated. Finally, embrace self-respect as your core strategy. All the confusion in the world is a byproduct of one unshakable truth. Your value is determined by you, not by his actions or perceptions. Every silent stance, every act of composure, every step toward personal growth reinforces that truth. When he realizes that his behavior cannot diminish your worth, his attempts to manipulate, provoke, or destabilize crumble. Confusion is simply the natural consequence of confronting a woman who knows her worth, commands her boundaries, and refuses to be defined by anyone else's attempt to hurt her. Your strength, silent yet visible, becomes the ultimate enigma he cannot solve. The power of mystery cannot be overstated. When a man hurts you, revealing everything about your feelings only feeds his perception that he can predict and manipulate you. Instead, cultivate an aura of unpredictability. Let him never fully understand what moves you, what drives you, or what you feel at any given moment. Your reserved responses, carefully measured smiles, and moments of silence become puzzles he cannot solve. Each layer of mystery makes him second-guess his assumptions, leaving him mentally exhausted and emotionally destabilized while you remain untouched, sovereign, and serene in your self-possession. Do not rush to heal on his timeline. Healing is an inward journey, not a performance for his satisfaction. By showing patience with your own growth and refusing to allow him to set the pace, you reclaim control over the narrative. Every moment he expects you to crumble and you remain composed is a moment of quiet, devastating power. Confusion arises naturally when he witnesses resilience where he anticipated fragility. His attempts to provoke, manipulate, or understand your inner world only collide with the unmovable truth your strength is your own, independent of his actions. Silence is your secret weapon. Words, explanations, and justifications often become chains that tie you to his expectations. By withholding them, you remove the map he relies on to navigate your emotions. Your silence is not emptiness, it is presence. It radiates strength, self-control, and dignity. Each pause in communication forces him to confront the void, to wonder, to speculate, and to internalize the consequences of his behavior. In that silence, you are untouchable, and the confusion you create is both shield and sword. Embrace your life outside of his influence. Engage in passions, projects, friendships, and experiences that reflect your autonomy. Let him see that his actions cannot define your reality. When a man witnesses the woman he hurt thriving, excelling, and enjoying life without dependence on him, the impact is subtle but profound. Confusion arises not from confrontation but from contradiction. He expected despair, but he encounters fulfillment. Your independent joy becomes an unspoken statement, a force he cannot control or predict. Shift your energy from reaction to creation. Every time he tries to provoke a response, redirect that energy into building yourself, your mind, body, and spirit. Your growth becomes visible proof that you cannot be diminished by his actions. Each accomplishment, each step forward, each smile in the midst of adversity communicates a silent but undeniable truth. You are beyond his reach. The cognitive dissonance created by this unstoppable transformation is the essence of confusion. It forces him to reconcile his attempts to hurt you with the reality of your strength. Play with balance. Sometimes acknowledge him, sometimes withdraw, sometimes show warmth, sometimes remain distant. Let the rhythm of your behavior be unpredictable, yet always rooted in confidence and self-respect. This subtle inconsistency destabilizes him because he cannot anticipate your response. Humans crave predictability. When he encounters the unexpected repeatedly, his mind races to decode your actions. You, however, remain calm, deliberate, and free from his mental games. Confusion becomes a natural byproduct of your unwavering self-possession. Confidence paired with detachment is devastating. When he expects emotional turbulence, offer calm composure. When he anticipates confrontation, offer grace and poise. Your presence alone becomes a reflection of inner mastery, a mirror he cannot manipulate. The more stable and grounded you appear, the more he questions his assumptions and his ability to influence you. Each interaction where he anticipates one reaction and encounters another chips away at his certainty and reinforces your psychological advantage. Do not underestimate the power of boundaries. Clearly defined emotional, mental, and physical boundaries create a framework he cannot cross. Your assertiveness in protecting your space and well-being forces him to confront limitations he cannot override. Confusion emerges because he expects unrestricted access to your emotions and reactions, and instead finds a fortress of self-respect. Each boundary is not only protection, it is a statement of autonomy, reinforcing the unshakable truth that you are untouchable when grounded in self-awareness. Leverage observation over reaction. Watch his attempts to hurt, manipulate, or provoke without engaging in immediate retaliation. By observing, you gain insight and power. By not reacting, you disarm him. Confusion arises because his usual methods of control fail, leaving him to question both your behavior and his own strategy. Every moment you choose observation over engagement strengthens your position, turning the tables in subtle, yet psychologically powerful ways, leaving him to navigate a world he thought he controlled but now cannot. Focus on internal validation. Let your sense of worth, pride, and happiness come from within, not from his actions or approval. When you derive your energy from self-respect, each attempt to hurt or provoke, you lose its potency. Confusion becomes inevitable when he realizes his efforts no longer manipulate your emotional state. You exist as an independent force, unaffected by his attempts at control. In this dynamic, his confusion is not your goal. It is the natural outcome of your steadfast self-possession. Use composure as a weapon. When he expects explosive emotions, demonstrate stillness. When he anticipates sorrow, present equanimity. Calm composure disrupts his expectations and forces him into mental recalibration. Each act of controlled behavior signals mastery over your emotions, making him question his assumptions about influence and power. This is not about winning a battle. It is about asserting sovereignty over your life. His confusion stems from the gap between expectation and reality, a gap that you intentionally create and maintain. Leverage the power of presence. Show up for yourself with confidence, grace, and dignity in every situation, independent of his actions. Let your energy radiate self-sufficiency. Confusion is born when he encounters a presence he cannot dominate or predict. By embodying your own authority and joy, you disrupt the patterns he relied upon to manipulate or provoke. Your visible independence becomes a mirror of psychological power, reflecting a reality where his attempts at control are irrelevant and impotent. Transform hurt into wisdom. Each act of emotional injury becomes an opportunity to learn, grow, and solidify your boundaries. The energy he intended to destabilize you is redirected into personal empowerment. Confusion naturally follows because he witnesses strength where he anticipated vulnerability. Over time, this transformation becomes a visible, undeniable force, a silent message that his actions are powerless. Against someone who has chosen mastery over reaction, growth over despair, and autonomy over submission. Master the art of selective engagement. Choose when and how to interact. Some moments call for response, many do not. By curating your engagement, you maintain control over the rhythm and tone of the relationship. Confusion arises because he cannot predict access or reaction. This strategy signals a deep self-awareness and a refusal to be dictated by his behavior. Your selective engagement becomes a psychological boundary, maintaining your power while subtly destabilizing his expectations. Finally, embody the paradox of presence and distance. Be near enough to demonstrate composure and strength, yet distant enough to remain ungraspable. Let your calm confidence and thriving independence radiate in ways that force him to reconsider his assumptions. Confusion thrives in this balance as he sees what he cannot possess and encounters a force he cannot influence. In this delicate tension, you establish a silent but undeniable authority over both the emotional landscape and the narrative he once thought he controlled. Do not allow him to witness your desperation. Desperation is clarity to those who wish to manipulate. It signals vulnerability and predictability. Instead, cultivate patience, composure, and detachment. Let him see that your emotional world operates independently of his actions. Confusion arises when he anticipates reaction and instead encounters an unwavering calm. Each moment he expects turmoil, but witnesses serenity chips away at his assumptions and forces him to question his influence. In this space, your control is silent, powerful, and absolute. Embrace the subtle art of redirection. When his words or actions attempt to hurt, redirect your energy toward something constructive, your goals, passions, or personal growth. The impact is twofold. You deny him the emotional leverage he seeks, and you reinforce your own autonomy. Confusion is a natural outcome when he realizes his attempts no longer disturb the balance of your life. Every step you take towards self-empowerment is a step away from his control, leaving him to navigate a reality where his influence has no foothold. Be enigmatic. Allow your emotions and reactions to remain partially veiled. Do not reveal the full spectrum of your feelings. Let them simmer privately, expressed only in ways that serve your empowerment. Mystery unsettles because it challenges predictability. The more he struggles to decode your intentions and emotional state, the less control he has. By embodying this enigma, you communicate power without aggression, creating confusion as an inevitable byproduct of your self-contained strength and unshakable dignity. Use absence strategically. Stepping back is not retreat. It is a calculated expression of independence. Let him feel the vacuum created by your space, making him confront the consequences of his behavior. Absence amplifies reflection and self-awareness in him, while allowing you the clarity and freedom to build yourself. Confusion manifests naturally as he encounters your distance, prompting introspection he never expected. In this dynamic, your absence becomes a mirror of your resilience and autonomy. Prioritize self-validation over external approval. Do not allow his actions to dictate your self-worth or emotional state. Each moment you rely on yourself for affirmation, strength, and confidence diminishes his perceived power. Confusion arises as he realizes his attempts to control or destabilize you have failed. Your self-respect, independence, and unwavering confidence become a living testament to the futility of his efforts, leaving him to grapple with a reality he cannot influence. Master the art of calm observation. Witness his provocations without immediate reaction. Observation gives clarity, strategy, and insight, while silence denies him emotional victories. Confusion grows because he cannot anticipate your responses, nor can he claim control over your emotional state. Each moment of composed observation strengthens your inner fortress and amplifies the psychological advantage you hold, turning his attempts to hurt you into exercises in futility. Fluctuate your engagement intentionally. Sometimes respond, sometimes remain distant, sometimes show warmth, sometimes neutrality. This unpredictability destabilizes expectations, creating a psychological space where he must constantly reassess his assumptions. By controlling the rhythm of interaction, you dictate the emotional tempo, not him. Confusion naturally emerges as he realizes he no longer possesses the map to navigate your behavior, leaving him disoriented and unsure of his influence. Turn his attempts to provoke into lessons for yourself. Every insult, slight, or hurtful act is an opportunity to reinforce boundaries, refine emotional control, and cultivate resilience. By using his actions as fuel for growth, Rather than triggers for reaction, you convert pain into power. Confusion is a natural byproduct. He expects vulnerability, but he encounters strength, intelligence, and composure instead. Your mastery over reaction is a silent force that unsettles him on a fundamental level. Leverage your visible progress as subtle power. Let him witness your achievements, transformation, and confidence from afar. Success becomes a mirror reflecting his failed attempts to destabilize you. Confusion arises when he sees growth where he expected regression, vitality where he anticipated defeat. Each visible milestone becomes a statement that you operate independently of his influence, leaving him to navigate a reality in which his actions no longer have dominion over your life or emotions. Practice emotional sovereignty. Do not allow external behavior, his or anyone else's, to dictate your internal state. Sovereignty over your feelings is a source of immense power. When he attempts to hurt you and meets unwavering control instead, confusion naturally emerges. The more you master emotional independence, the more he confronts a woman who cannot be manipulated or undermined. This internal authority radiates externally, leaving him to wrestle with the unshakable fact that his actions cannot penetrate your inner fortress. Cultivate a life that is magnetically independent. Fill your days with purpose, joy, and growth that exist beyond his reach. Let him observe, from the edges of his awareness, a reality he cannot control or touch. Confusion follows when his expectations of dependency and emotional leverage are met with thriving autonomy. Your life becomes proof that your power resides entirely within, and his attempts to disturb it are futile against someone who walks her own path with confidence and grace. Use subtle psychological tension. Be near enough to indicate composure and presence, yet distant enough to remain ungraspable. This balance unsettles expectations and highlights independence. Confusion arises naturally when he cannot predict your behavior or influence your emotional state. In this tension, your authority is silently broadcast. You are grounded, self-sufficient, and untouchable. While he struggles to reconcile his assumptions with the reality of your strength. Reinforce unpredictability through consistency in growth. While your actions are variable, your personal development is unwavering. Let him observe transformation without understanding the internal choices that fuel it. Confusion emerges because he sees results but cannot decipher the process. Each step forward, each skill mastered, each boundary maintained silently broadcast that your life is led on your terms, leaving him without control or explanation for your resilience. Redirect attention from him to your vision. When hurt comes, do not fixate on the cause. Focus instead on the outcome you desire for yourself. By shifting attention to self-mastery, creativity, and personal ambition, you deprive him of the satisfaction of engagement. Confusion manifests as he struggles to comprehend your lack of fixation. His attempts to hurt, manipulate, or provoke become irrelevant when your energy is fully invested in growth, leaving him unable to predict or affect your trajectory. Finally, embody empowerment in every gesture, from posture to speech, from social interactions to solitary moments. Let your behavior radiate authority, composure, and independence. Confusion thrives in the presence of such unwavering strength. Each silent demonstration of control is a lesson. You define your worth, you dictate your reactions, and no attempt to hurt can alter your trajectory. In this, confusion is the natural byproduct of a woman who has mastered herself. While remaining untouchable to anyone's efforts to destabilize her, let every interaction become an exercise in self-sovereignty. When he expects control, offer composure. When he expects turmoil, offer stability. By consistently operating from your own center, you create an environment he cannot manipulate. Confusion emerges because he anticipates a predictable response, yet every encounter challenges his assumptions. Your calm, intentional presence communicates mastery over both the situation and yourself, making his attempts at influence impotent. Anchor your confidence in reality, not perception. The stronger your internal sense of worth, the less his words or actions can touch you. Confusion arises when he realizes that nothing he does can elicit the expected reaction. By grounding yourself in truth, self-respect, and growth, you render his attempts at destabilization irrelevant. Each moment of composure reinforces the invisible boundary between his behavior and your emotional state, leaving him unsettled and reflective. Let restraint be your tool. Refrain from reacting impulsively to provocation or manipulation. By exercising control over when and how you respond, you assert authority over the dynamic. Confusion naturally follows when he encounters a person whose responses are deliberate and measured rather than reactive. Your mastery over restraint signals power, independence, and self-command, forces he cannot anticipate or subvert. Transform emotional pain into strategic advantage. Each act intended to hurt becomes a lesson in resilience, patience, and inner strength. Confusion arises when he expects weakness but encounters someone thriving in spite of adversity. By converting negative energy into growth and empowerment, you demonstrate an unassailable reality. Your emotional state is your own, and no external attempt can breach it. Master the rhythm of engagement. Choose which moments demand attention and which deserve silence. By controlling the cadence of interaction, you dictate the emotional flow. Confusion emerges as he struggles to anticipate your behavior, encountering unpredictability rooted in confidence rather than chaos. Your choices communicate intentionality, self-possession, and autonomy, leaving him to navigate a landscape he cannot control. Visualize your independence as a force field. Your growth, composure, and serenity create an aura that cannot be pierced by his actions. Confusion is a natural outcome as he witnesses vitality where he expected defeat, joy where he anticipated despair, and calm where he sought disruption. This presence, radiant yet untouchable, becomes a silent declaration of power, autonomy, and self-determination. Do not seek closure from him. Create it within yourself. Let every wound, every slight, every hurtful act be resolved internally through reflection and growth. Confusion arises as he anticipates dependence, but finds self-sufficiency. By claiming your own closure, you demonstrate that external actors hold no sway over your inner world, leaving him perplexed at your invulnerability and resilience. Engage the art of selective visibility. Share aspects of your life that highlight growth, independence, and joy, while keeping vulnerabilities private. Confusion emerges when he sees thriving and composure without understanding the source. By revealing only what reinforces your power, you control perception, narrative, and emotional impact, making your presence simultaneously present and impenetrable. Let grace guide your actions. When he expects defensiveness or agitation, respond with poise and measured behavior. Confusion follows naturally because his attempts at destabilization are met with strength, calm, and dignity. Each display of grace reinforces boundaries, commands respect, and signals autonomy, subtly yet powerfully redefining the rules he believed governed your interactions. Use observation as strategy. Monitor his behavior without reacting impulsively. Insight gained through observation allows you to anticipate and neutralize potential harm. Confusion arises when he realizes that his actions no longer provoke immediate responses, leaving him to confront unpredictability. Your measured awareness becomes both shield and guide, reinforcing your authority over the emotional terrain. Let empowerment radiate in subtle acts. Every confident step, every independent choice, every composed response communicates strength without aggression. Confusion emerges naturally as he encounters someone whose power is unshakable yet unprovoked. This silent assertion of authority destabilizes his expectations and reinforces The truth, you cannot be manipulated, controlled, or diminished by his actions. Redirect focus from what he has done to what you are becoming. Invest energy into personal mastery, vision, and growth. Confusion arises because he anticipates preoccupation with his actions, but finds your attention devoted entirely to elevation. By prioritizing self over reaction, you cultivate independence and psychological resilience, leaving him grappling with the reality of your unwavering strength. Maintain unpredictability in subtle ways, sometimes engage, sometimes withdraw, sometimes show warmth, sometimes neutrality. Confusion thrives in unpredictability because it denies him the patterns he relies upon to manipulate or anticipate. Your autonomy becomes evident, leaving him forced to navigate a dynamic he cannot control, reinforcing your psychological upper hand. Anchor your identity in self-respect and growth. The stronger your internal foundation, the less impact his actions can have. Confusion arises when his attempts at control are ineffective, leaving him questioning his influence. Your consistent embodiment of strength, composure, and independence communicates a force that cannot be diminished, creating a powerful psychological distance between him and your inner world. And finally, let your life itself be the ultimate statement. Each accomplishment, each step of growth, each moment of serenity is a declaration that his attempts to hurt, manipulate, or destabilize you have failed. A confusion is the natural consequence of encountering someone who thrives independently, responds deliberately, and carries unshakable self-worth. In mastering yourself, you render all external attempts to control or harm irrelevant, leaving him to confront a reality he cannot influence while you rise unbound, untouchable, and unstoppable.